Joker is the origin story to Arthur Fleck, the man behind the makeup. How did he become the most iconic comic book villain of all time? What made him snap? Why is he always laughing all the time? This movie answers all those questions and a lot more. This is Todd Phillips' best work, without a doubt. To think that this is the same guy that made The Hangover is completely mind-blowing to me. So while this movie is about a comic book character, I don't really think Todd Phillips wanted us to look at this movie as a comic book movie. This is a serious movie about a serious conversation that needs to be had on mental illness. In all honesty, this is a horror movie. I truly believe the genre for this film should be listed as horror. It's very scary. It's very unsettling. It made me uncomfortable. It felt real. To me, those are all the things you need to make a great horror film. There's theaters all around the world putting signs up on their doors letting people know this is not your typical comic book movie. The reason why is because there's a lot of parents who have little kids who see the Joker and think this is gonna be another Batman versus Superman, Justice League, Suicide Squad type of comic book movie. And those parents are probably gonna go take these kids to see this movie, and from there it's just going to be a theater full of traumatized crying toddlers, and nobody wants that. The soundtrack is haunting. It reminded me a lot of the music that I heard from Hereditary. There's long, slow moving shots coming toward the Joker as this stringy violin music is playing in the background, and it really got under my skin. The music definitely added a lot of tension while watching Arthur transform into the Joker. There's also that pounding drum that just keeps slowly, quietly playing in the background every time Arthur's having negative thoughts. It's very iconic, and I have to address how much this movie felt like a reborn, retold version of Taxi Driver. That is what this movie is 100%. If you've seen Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro, then this movie right here is probably gonna feel very familiar to you. And to some, that could potentially be a negative. At some points, it kind of felt like a copycat of that movie. But that's subjective. And speaking of Taxi Driver, what are the odds? Robert De Niro is actually in this movie. I'm just saying. But back on topic. We see a man who is clearly mentally ill and is slowly but surely evolving into something very bad. And the main question that have many audiences divided is, does this movie make you sympathize with the Joker? Does the movie try to make us agree with what he's doing, get us on his side? And the answer is hell no. This is definitely a character study film. It does show us what he's going through, yes, but most audiences will be smart and responsible enough to realize that all of his reasons for turning into a psychopath are completely inexcusable. I didn't watch him get bullied and think, well, those guys had it coming. Absolutely not. All this movie is doing is showing how unstable a mentally deranged person can become, and hopefully point out ways that we as a society can change for the better. You would think it's common sense by now that when we see someone that's a little off, we don't point fingers and laugh and ridicule them. Or how about every time we see lonely people that may seem a little weird, most ignore them and stay away from them when we should be talking to them and making them feel seen and cared about. Let's talk about the gun violence here for a second though. This is not your overdramatic Hollywood type of gunplay here. Much like Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver, this is a very realistic approach of guns being used. Whenever someone gets killed, they're not adding tons of cinematic music playing in the background or tons of sound effects to it. It's nothing but the sounds of the people that are in that scene together and the sounds the gun really makes. When it's done in this way, it's harder to watch. It's like when the typical bad guy, villain, usually kills somebody in movies that we're used to seeing.
Are you afraid of me?
No, I'm not.
You should be.
It's cool to watch, it's fun, and it's not taken that serious by audiences. It's entertaining. On the other hand, when it's done realistically...
Let me ask you something. If the rule you followed brought you to this, of what use was the rule?
Do you have any idea how crazy you are?
You mean the nature of this conversation?
I mean the nature of you. You could have the money, Anton.
It's not that fun anymore. You take it serious. You feel bad for the victim. It feels real. It's sad to witness. That's how it feels all the way through Joker. It's not exciting seeing him turn into the Joker. It's very scary and unsettling. Because deep down, you know there really are people like him out there in our world that need help. It could be your neighbor, a coworker, your family member. But I'll stop getting so deep into it so I can take a second to brag about Joaquin Phoenix's performance. Holy shit. Give this man his Oscar nomination. Seriously, if this guy doesn't at least get nominated, I'll be pretty shocked. His portrayal of this lost and broken man was heartbreaking. He brings so much depth to this character that I'm sure there's people already out there trying to dissect and peel back all the different layers to him. And what's really surprising is I saw an interview of him where he said he didn't method act for this movie at all. They say most actors that take on the Joker go method and stay in character the entire shoot. And sometimes they go a little crazy and need counseling afterwards because they get so lost in the dark shadows of playing such a villainous character. But Joaquin Phoenix just stayed himself. When they said action, he'd put on his game face and go get the job done. But as soon as they said cut, he'd be on the sidelines getting a coffee with everybody else, just enjoying his day. Guys, this is one of the best movies of the year. Probably the best movie of the year to a lot of people. If you're sensitive to or not comfortable with seeing realistic violence, you might want to sit this one out. But if you're fine with it, you must go see this movie. As far as comic book movies go, this is a masterpiece. That is it for today's movie review though. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to it already. Comment down below if you've seen Joker already. What did you think about it? I'm gonna get out of here. Have a great day. Go watch some movies and I'll see you on the next movie review.